I had many people tell me, you're wasting your time. The world is not ready for an openly gay man to write books for their kids. Like you need to find something, host a fashion show.
Hello, all, and welcome to Marsha, the podcast. I'm your host, Marsha Molinari, and you are here listening to the podcast that brings true and heartfelt human connection. I believe if you don't know about it, you can't care about it, and that's why we're here today. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to Marsha. I am not going to cut this one short. It is Chris Colfer's bio, and I want to make sure I get everything because I think it's so cool and so amazing. He's an award-winning actor, an international best-selling author, singer, songwriter, producer, and a member of Time 100, Time Magazine's most influential people in the world. So major. As an actor, he is best known for his work on Absolutely Fabulous, the movie, Hot in Cleveland, Ridley Jones, and Glee, for which he won a Golden Globe, 3 People's Choice Awards, and was nominated for 2 Primetime Emmys and a Grammy. That is like, is that a special thing? Like, I know there's like the EGOT.
It means nothing. Unfortunately, I trust me, I've looked. There's nothing.
The trifecta of that.
My awards spell nothing clever.
We'll make it up. And as an author, he has written and published 16, I feel like is it 16?
16 novels and then 2 children's books.
And 2 children's books. Mm-hmm. You can finish this for me. It's his middle grade series, The Land of Stories, is the #1 New York Times bestseller series, and which I have recently become very, very obsessed, so I understand the #1 part. If they can be like a higher number, then I would award that. I know they found a new planet. I think they can come up with something better than
right.
Just #1.
Just like, negative numbers now.
These series have been translated into more than 30 languages and published over 35 territories worldwide. And in 2021, he was honored by the National Coalition Against Censorship with Free Speech Defender Award for his commitment to creative expression. Mm. And that was an award given to you by Whoopi Goldberg, right?
She did. She was very kind to present me with that award, yes.
I mean, what was that like, you know?
Thank God we were able to pre-tape, so I didn't have to, like, say anything in front of her, because she's one of my childhood heroes.
Same.
I mean,
I live for Whoopi.
Who doesn't love Whoopi? I mean,
yeah.
I just think the world of her, so, and I've been lucky enough to work with her a few times, so... it was very kind of her too, because she's a busy lady.
Oh yeah,
she's got
she's booked and busy.
I mean, she's booked and busy. So the fact that she took like an hour out of her day to do that for me was very, very, very sweet of her.
Oh, I love that. I love that people and someone like her would support something like this, and I think it's very important. And congratulations on being nominated, being seen. You know.
Thank you.
And I think it's just really cool. Well, let's talk about how we first met. I
don't remember how we first met.
Well, I was thinking about that because we see each other.
I feel like you've always been there. I mean, it's hard.
Truly. I mean, well, with the Glee family, I know a lot of your friends and your castmates. Yeah. Uh-huh. And so I think we're mostly involved in the same circle, but I think it originally was one of Eric Podwell's birthdays.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
maybe.
That makes sense.
And I think we sat next to each other. Mm-hmm. And that started our friendship.
Yeah, and here we are.
And here we are, still at the club.
Like Auntie Mame and what Agnes? No, yeah. What was the other one's name?
Wait.
The Bosom Buddies?
Yeah.
Yeah, here we are.
Or Thelma and Louise.
Thelma and Louise, I like that better.
Yeah. Well, the start off of the friendship, we won't take it to the edge. Well, so let's get started on how you got started in acting. Wait, I also learned that you're from Clovis,
California, yes.
I'm from Visalia, California.
How have we never talked about this?
Yes.
You're kidding me.
No.
I was in Visalia all the time, like speech and debate tournaments. That is hilarious.
Yeah, I went to Mount Whitney High School.
Oh my God! So you're from the Valley, the real Valley.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow.
And I was part of the FFA, Future Farmers of America.
So was I.
No way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I joined that because it was easier to pass that than chemistry.
Wait, that's why I joined it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
But people find that I mean, in school, people were like, "Oh, agricultural science," and I was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting information in
Did you
that
have to
class.
dissect an animal?
I did not, thank God. No, I was sick that day.
They made us dissect a whole cow.
A cow. Okay, I think at my school it
It
was
was
a pig.
gruesome.
Yeah.
Like, let us play with the intestines and the
Oh
thing.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Well, I
valley
hope it was
goes
dead.
hard. It was. No, it was so interesting actually deciding to be a part of that, and it really kind of brought me into a world that wasn't essentially like part of my fabric. But I also think it was like kind of a time, now that I'm really thinking about it, was maybe a tool I used to fit in better with, you know, not being in a big city, not in country music was what everyone
Right.
listened to. So I find that super interesting. I find it super interesting that
And everyone has a truck.
yeah, everyone had a
Yeah,
truck.
everyone had a truck. Yeah.
Yeah, I think now thinking back, it's so funny how our intellect and how we defend ourselves in a certain way. And I didn't think about it like that then. My friends were in ag science, and I did have fun learning about grading oranges and cotton
Seeds and
all the things and
manure.
manure. And there's a like nostalgic feeling I get when you're driving to the Central Valley and you start smelling the farms and stuff like that.
Right.
And I was like, not so bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, it brings me back.
yeah. Well, what was that? Were you in theater then as well?
I was, yeah. So I grew up in Roger Rocca's Dinner Theater. Did you ever hear about that? Living in Visalia?
No.
It's in Fresno. It's actually really.
I probably went there actually. I think
Maybe
I
you
saw
have.
Death of the Salesman there.
Oh yeah, probably.
That would have been there,
yeah,
right?
that was a popular one they did. Yeah.
There wasn't very many theaters, so
No,
it had to
so
be.
yeah, and it was actually it's kind of phenomenal. They have kept this theater open, I think, for about 40 years now. It's like the performing arts hub of Fresno, and it's just remarkable what they've been able to do. And they've done like over like 350 shows, and like for like a good like 5 to like 7 year period, I was just like every little boy in every little show ever.
I remember now I remember the place I went to was the Ice House Theater. I think I did The Princess and the Pea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And that was that Hanford? Or no, that was
Still in
Visalia.
Visalia,
Cool.
yeah.
There was also a Hanford community theater. I can't remember what it's called, but I mean, like, God bless them for keeping those theaters alive and well.
Think we can still get roles now there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty competitive.
No, for sure. The competition is fierce.
Yeah.
What was high school growing up for you? Or school in general growing up for you in the Central Valley?
It was pretty terrible, honestly.
Yeah.
It was very, I was bullied mercilessly every day. I made friends with the lunch ladies, and they protected me, so that was nice.
Yeah, I did things like that too. I remember like getting really close with teachers.
Yes.
Always.
Oh yeah.
Like and in between like having to walk to classes, sometimes I would leave early because I was friends with the teacher. I'd be like, I'm just gonna head to my next class early.
Yeah.
I mean,
there were like bathrooms you would use, and there's bathrooms you wouldn't use because
Yeah.
you knew the type of students that would be lingering in those stalls.
bullies.
Yeah, bullies,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of it was really tough, but I mean, we survived.
We survived.
I guess it made us better people.
I
they
think
say.
so. I always say that I wouldn't change any one terrible thing that has happened because I think, those things are what build us. Obviously you don't want them to happen to anybody else. I think that's the advocacy that we now do is because of that. And, help create us.
Right. I thought that experience really taught me to be witty and taught me to be like quick on my feet because if I could, it didn't matter how big a bully was. Like if I could just disarm them with words, I knew they wouldn't shove me against a wall or anything. If I could so sad. If I could humiliate them before they humiliated me, I could protect myself.
Yeah.
And prevent it in the future. So I did get some skills out of it.
I had a friend that was like a silver tongue. Is that right? A silver tongue. He could rip someone apart. This is like in 6th grade, I remember. Anyone that ever bothered us, he would just get off and go into in depth into their life and like really get them at the core.
Yeah.
And I always found that so fascinating.
Yeah, just like a young Bianca Del Rio, just
Yeah,
ripping
just
through them.
ripping through them. I was like, wow, you're good. Or like if someone was like, you know, coming to talk shit, I always knew like, oh, wait till his name was Chris too, actually.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
he's with the name.
Yeah. And, you know, he would always kind of be like a protection or, you know, I think when you do come at someone with words or, you know, something maybe they can't quite figure out what you might have ripped them down, but they don't know what you just said.
Especially if you use big words too.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part.
They're
to
just
kinda
like,
see,
I
wait
don't
a
want to
minute.
fight
What does
anymore.
reciprocate mean? You know, that look of confusion in your
Yeah,
eyes.
I'm gonna go home and think about that or something. No, there was tons of different ways I got out of being bullied and different things I joined. Drama, I think, really like getting into drama just because I loved all of it, the imagination part of it, and maybe I felt more people were like myself. When I did sign up, I remember thinking like, I'm definitely gonna get bullied for this, but something told me I'm not gonna care.
Yeah.
I'm doing enough. I'm already in ag science. What do you want from me?
Yeah,
You
right.
know, kind of thing. And I had tried different sports. I tried wrestling.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, and it was not easy. I remember I mean, when you're in sports and people are competitive, people are just still always gonna like talk bad to you. But at least I was also with other people. Like my friends were in wrestling, so I felt a little protected. It wasn't the best, but you know, I did something to like to feel protected, and that was joining sports. And that didn't last very long.
Oh gosh. I mean, if it lasted a day, it was
No,
much longer than
right.
I ever tried. So.
And so then that like kind of led me into like I tried football for one day, and that
Oh my God,
that was
wow.
one day.
Do you remember what position you played? Is that the right term? Position?
Yeah, there's positions. My
Yeah.
position was walking out the field. We started doing drills, and then I was like, just hearing the talk between all the kids. It was not great.
Yeah.
I mean, they were talking about everyone from girls to
Yeah.
this, and I was like, I can't stay here, and
Right.
I just walked off the field. And no one noticed the next day. They weren't like, you
abandoned
wussy,
us.
yeah, or you abandoned. We really needed
We
you.
needed you.
No, they didn't.
The school's counting on you.
Yeah, you're our best thrower. No, so were there any things like that you may have had to do or felt like maybe you didn't realize in the time that you were doing to
I
protect
was
yourself?
luckily I was pretty strong-headed when I was a kid. I really, really did not care about perception of me. I really, and I actually kind of got a kick out of doing things that only I enjoyed.
Right.
But I found like sanctuary in drama. I found sanctuary in the speech and debate club. I found sanctuary, like I said, at the kitchen with the lunch ladies who would protect me. But it's like looking back on it now, it's kind of bittersweet because, I mean, everyone in drama and everyone in speech and debate, we were all gay.
Yeah.
We were all gay, and but none of us could admit it back then because it wasn't. I mean, I don't know if it was the same way at your high school, but for me, it wasn't safe.
I wasn't gay.
You weren't right, exactly. Right.
No. To actually really touch base on that, I don't think I knew. I came from a really religious background, so that wasn't even a possibility in my world.
Yeah.
I knew things that I loved. I loved drama. I loved the ice capades.
Oh, of course.
I loved old movies. I loved old Hollywood starlets. Judy Garland. I'm a friend of Judy's from as long as I can remember.
Of course, yeah.
But I don't think I've ever admitted to myself in high school, and I very much fought against it. And I remember specifically, and this is like a sad moment that replays, and I really hope that this person, it didn't scar them. But I remember leaving. We went on that trip to Fresno to see Death of a Salesman. And I'm waiting. My mom was constantly always late to never picking me up at all. And I'm the only person in the parking lot. And his name is Daniel, actually. We were just talking about it, Daniel. Not the same person, I hope. And he, said, "I'll give you a ride home." And he said, "For a kiss." And
Wow, that's ballsy from Central Valley.
And my reaction was really scary.
Yeah.
I said,
Ooh.
"Stay away from me, you fucking faggot."
Yeah.
And I mean, now thinking back on it, like that came from a place of fear,
Of course. Yeah.
you know? And so even when, you know, it has happened to me, you know, people have called me faggot all the time, not all the time, but like a lot. And, you know, for me then to turn and use that word, I think that was at the time all my intellect could come up with, you know, rather than being like maybe explaining or maybe, I mean, it wasn't there actually.
Yeah.
The tools weren't there. And there wasn't a visibility. I didn't have any examples of a gay person or what the positive lives of being a gay person, because all I've ever was told is like, you're going to burn in hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and you know the Central California. I can't believe we have not talked about.
That's insane. I
us
can't
being
either.
from basically
the same area.
Yeah. And all that comes with it, and the smog. No.
I feel like that was such like also like growing up. And I don't know if it's gotten better in Visalia. I do think it's gotten a lot better where I'm from. Since I left at least. But that like that story you said, I think is just such like it's survival strategy 101. It's like if you don't join them, you become, you know, I remember there were many times like when like, you know, the class would be laughing at the, you know, the gay kid in the back, and I like if I had to laugh with, because if I
you didn't found out or something,
right,
like that.
Or like if I was like outed as an ally, I mean I would suffer the same fate. And I feel like that's something luckily that is kind of like when you talk to kids now that are in high school, I think is kind of foreign to them, because they're like, wait a minute, what?
It's so
a
different.
Teacher would make fun of a gay, and it's like, oh yeah, teachers. I mean, like it was open season.
It really was, and no one was, not even a teacher. So like I said, I made friends with teachers, but they wouldn't necessarily stand up for you.
No,
you know, if
right.
like something. And I remember after leaving Visalia and I was here, I read in People's Magazine that Visalia was like number 4 for most, they could have said gay hate towns. And it wasn't shocking to me. And then there was a story that I remember reading that this kid showed up to Spanish class with an earring on, and the teacher started the bullying.
Yeah.
The teacher called him a pirate. And when he complained, the school asked the student to leave.
Of course.
And that wasn't that long ago, you know? And to think about how far we've come, actually, I'm like so thankful now to witness that things definitely have changed. It's not like that. Not always. I mean, I can't speak for every place. I know that it has gotten better, is what I'm saying. There is more access to find someone that is like us,
right?
You know,
yeah, way more representation, way more tools, way more resources, way more. I mean, I wish I had grown up and I know there's still so much more to go. We have still so much more work to do, but it really is. It really is a different world than the one we grew up in.
Yeah, I mean, like a battlefield, and it is still like that. I have nieces and stuff like that, and you know, the different young kids I talk about, and like they'll be like how they are getting bullied or this and that, and I mean maybe even amplified in a different area like social media. Before, sure, you'll get a couple bullies on the way home, but then to read about your bullying when you get home and when you're, you know, alone and not feeling the best.
Right, and you can do it anonymously too.
Yeah,
which is
even worse.
Even worse, yeah. Because I mean, at least when we were growing up, the bullies had to say it to our face.
Right.
That was the only option.
And we knew it was Billy from down the street.
And we knew it was Billy. Yeah, we knew his mom was an alcoholic. We knew, you know, he might have been inbred. You know, it was, you know.
Totally.
But yeah. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult that is for young people these days.
No,
it's tough for me. I'm a grown man. Like I hate it when like these assholes online like say comments or say hurtful things. It ruins my day. I can't imagine being 14.
Yeah, well that brings up something because my friend was asking me like, dude, did you read the comments on her show, for instance? And I was like, oh no, I actually try. For the longest time, I did shut off commenting on my Instagram. But sometimes I think it's good to have a certain level of awareness. Not that I'm looking for people to hate on me.
Right.
Please don't. Be nice. But she was saying like there was a lot of negative stuff and kind of going in, so that it's just constant for her, to receive that. I'm not sure if it was like, I'm sure it was like that for you, actually, very much so. But is it changed? Because I think from when Glee first started to now, we are so social media obsessed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
I remember Twitter was invented like halfway through season 1 of Glee, and it was just like the world changed.
Yeah.
Like overnight almost, because
Yeah.
this new platform, this new tool. And I'm a fan of social media. I think that it's
we use totally in a very positive and powerful way.
right, and I think it's helped a lot of lonely people connect to help them find their tribe,
Right.
wherever they are. But I think it's unfortunately it's just a sad side effect of the online harassment is a sad side effect of it all.
So touching base on growing up in the Central Valley and having navigate through school, what was it like getting Glee and kind of like, I'm about to relive school again? Like,
right.
and what was that feeling?
It was terrifying because when I originally auditioned for Glee, I had auditioned for the role of Artie, Kevin McHale's character.
Yeah.
And the role of Kurt had not been written into the script yet.
Oh, wow.
So they wrote the role for me, but I was not out to anyone. I was not out in high school. I was barely out to myself. And then like suddenly, like I'm literally going from a nobody in this small town where I'm too afraid to admit the truth about myself, to then suddenly being a openly gay teenager on network television, which back then that meant something.
Yeah. No, totally. Because did you then originally think, okay, well, if I do this role, will I get other roles?
Right. Well, no. I mean, I was so ready to leave. I was so ready just to get out of there. And I had auditioned for years and years. And my parents, God bless them, would drive me from Fresno to LA like twice a month to audition for things.
No way.
Back and forth.
Wow.
Glee was the first thing I ever booked. So there was no way I was giving it up. But I mean, I had people in my family ask me, "Do you really want to do this? Like, do you really, I mean, I don't think you should do it." And I was like, no, I mean, I was like, and then I think to make it okay with them, I was like, oh, but when you play a gay character, you
always kiss a girl.
right, and you win a lot of awards, and I think it's a good idea, and
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah, and
I mean, you had to buffer it.
yeah, I had a buffer, yeah. It's crazy now looking back that there are people in my family that I had to make that okay with,
Right.
Which is kind of hilarious, but
But probably also you were making it okay for yourself.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Because we're kind of, it's, in a sense, beaten into us of what is acceptable. And I know when I first moved to LA, I would always get like, yeah, you could do something. You should change your voice. You should change the way you talk.
Yeah.
You should.
The way you walk, the way you, yeah.
There was
everything.
always a comment about something. And so, that it'll start to speak to you, if you're not equipped with a certain level of awareness of self, it can really get you down. When the show first aired, like, what was that like for you? Like,
I mean, it was amazing. I mean, the first couple years of Glee were just absolutely just
like a dream.
A dream. It really was. It was. I was almost like lightheaded the entire time, if that makes any sense.
Because there was the hours on set.
Well, that was that. It was also like the shooting the show is kind of like the movie They Shoot Horses, Don't They?
Yeah.
But just like like I don't know, just like I don't know. Finally getting something that I'd wanted for so long was really incredible. But it was really interesting, the reaction from my hometown, which I heard about through through second parties was people would say, "Oh, well, he's not a success because he's playing a gay character. Good luck to him." Isn't that insane?
Really throws me. Like, what?
Yeah. I think that was just a lot of jealousy, a lot of
of course.
Here's this kid, talking about myself in third person now. Here's this kid who's had trying his whole life to have something happen, and everywhere that I would turn, I would be told I was stupid for trying. I would never get cast in a TV show. I was not TV material. I wasn't photogenic. All that stuff. So proving hundreds of people wrong with one go was great. But they a lot of them didn't let it sting. They had to come up with excuses of why it wasn't a good thing for me.
And when the show started getting like more visibility, did you start receiving, I don't know, maybe an outpour of like you're just like me. You know, like I said, like I didn't have any examples of any queer kids, or it could be
especially
possible.
especially young teenagers or young
Yeah.
kids. But honestly, I got that outpour. The pilot aired in 2009, just the pilot after an episode of American Idol, and then they waited the whole summer to release the rest of the season. I got an outpour the night that pilot aired, and I had like 2 or 3 lines in the pilot
Oh wow.
from these kids, just like, "Oh my God, you're just like me. I've never seen someone like me before," and it's never stopped since.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they're like, they stick with you.
Yeah,
Right? For
yeah,
the
they
most
have.
part?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, I'd say. I mean, a lot of them grow up, and that's okay.
Yeah,
They stop messaging celebrities on, on
Oh, wait,
Twitter.
you got a family now?
Yeah, they got a family.
I don't mean as much to you. So you're like reaching out to them. So like, what was that like? Like, you know, once you finally got like established, what is that right word to say? Like, now I'm an established actor because what? I'm getting noticed and I have.
I guess it was something I never in a million years thought I would be a part of something that I mean, like, people have their opinions about the show, and that's
Well, it's
fine.
a trailblazing show.
It was,
like,
and
you
it was very, very popular for
Yeah.
for a while. So I never thought I'd be part of something.
I mean,
that
I've seen
big.
every episode. I was
okay,
obsessed.
yeah.
Because I just, when I saw the characters, like, I would replay moments in my high school time, and I'm like, oh my God, I would have loved to be in this Glee. I would have loved to just, well, and it wasn't all like actually like a perfect world. You guys really touched base on like what was happening for kids in school and the bullying and all the things. So I guess that just gave me more of something to look at, and I guess I just wanted to be your friend, and here we are now.
Well, here,
I manifested
dreams
it.
happen, kids.
Yeah, dreams do come true.
Right.
So following that, and I recently just watched, actually last night, your Golden Globe acceptance speech.
Oh gosh.
And I really love the part where you say, I think I left my heart between, where did I write it down?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore.
Yeah. And I was like dying laughing immediately. One, because I know your humor, and and then you said, this goes out to everyone that, and I knew who you were speaking to. It was just like every queer kid, I mean, any kid really, that has been told no. And I mean, I bet all of those people that were like, not you. Some could be you, but not you. That like that feeling like, because I think with awards, you take it with a grain of salt as well. Like,
Right.
I got it.
I didn't that night, but I learned
Oh,
to.
no, you shouldn't. No, and you shouldn't. You should be very proud, and it's such a big deal. It's such a bigger deal in the grand scope of things. Not that you just won an award, but you won an award for a lot of people.
That's definitely what it felt like.
Yeah, like the younger myself and FFA and all the things.
And also all the young gay kids. I mean, I don't know what it's like now because I'm not in high school, but all the young gay kids let's go back, right? Oh my God, never in a million years. But they're told there's no place for you in the industry. So I definitely wanted to give. I mean, honestly, I did not go into that award show thinking I was going to win. Honestly, my biggest like objective of the night was just to not get caught drinking champagne at the table because I was underage.
Oh. Wait, you were what?
I was 19 or 20.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like
I could not handle that as well, though. Like how?
So I was like keeping an eye on the camera. I'm like, okay, my category is coming up. As soon as my category is over, the camera will not be on me, and then I can just like drink champagne with with the big kids at the table. And then they called me, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't drink champagne. But I'm glad I just was able to form words in that moment because I do not remember a moment of that.
Oh
of that
wow, that's
experience.
so interesting. I mean, because you really like I said, I watched it last night, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm that kid.
Oh,
I'm that person.
Yeah.
And it really spoke to me. And then to follow, like, then more shows got made.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a huge importance for you to be there at that time in that moment with this cast and crew, which, I mean, the type of work you guys did. I mean, the show that you created, each episode was like
A Broadway
A
musical.
Broadway
Yeah.
musical.
Oh yeah. It was like we were doing a new Broadway musical every week.
Wow.
It was
And
pretty,
that
pretty
must have been
intense.
like so tiring.
It was exhausting, and
Right.
and it's sometimes it's tricky
Could you
to
do it
talk about.
now? Kind of that kind of
I
schedule?
I don't think I would.
Yeah.
I would decline
Right.
because I know what it entails. But I mean, I think all of us are so profoundly grateful for the experience, but it was a very, very tiring experience. I mean, it was up at 4 a.m. every day, working 80-hour weeks. It was, uh, uh, being in that damn dance studio, sometimes all day learning, dance, the
And
new
on top of
dance
having to learn lines
and go and sing in the studio and
40 different things
yeah,
at
yeah.
once. And wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting when I hear actors complain about studio their schedules when they're like on a multicam, and it's
Yeah.
just like oh
Oh, wow. You
oh,
don't
F
know
you.
anything.
You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, that's so interesting to be able to have to like, one, be vulnerable in front of the camera is one thing. To have to then, and then, emote this, what your character is going through and feeling, but on top of like, oh wait, I've got to sing this song in 24 seconds
Yeah.
and get this all out at once.
Mhm.
I mean, I can't imagine. And that just, is a testament to you.
The hardest part for me was all the damn happiness.
Yeah, people
Like
having to be happy.
happiness is exhausting.
No,
like
it
and the
is.
show is very much like I'll support you, you support me, we're
Right.
supportive together. But just having to constantly have that smile and be part of the Mickey Mouse Club, that
'Cause
was
yeah,
the hardest part for me.
Because naturally, every day is not like that. I mean, you can go through a full school day and you're not. I mean, a bunch of school
You're not
days.
chipper the whole
Yeah,
day.
and
Yeah.
that, it did seem like, and that's what the show was, and that was actually a great part of it. But so after following that, did writing start? Writing started for you at a really young age, right?
It did, yeah. So I fell in love with just storytelling at a very, very young age. And for me, acting and writing, drawing, it was all the same thing to me. I didn't understand the difference when I was a kid. So I just started doing it all. I think the first time I wrote a story, I think I was probably 5 or 6. I would I'd go on my mom's computer and I'd, write like one sentence and be exhausted from that one sentence. And, I'd draw pictures and, sometimes my elementary school teachers would let me like read my stories in class. And, but I started writing The Land of Stories when I was about 8 years old.
Wow.
And I tried writing it. I tried so hard, and then I realized it was very hard to write a novel when you're 8 years old.
No, wait. Okay, so you say like what age?
Like 8.
8.
So,
So
yeah.
that's super young.
Yeah, second or third
But
grade.
is this just something like you were just in this world? Because I know for me, like talking about spending a lot of time alone and befriending teachers and things, why I would never change any of that because I love my imagination kind of thing.
Right.
Is this where this comes from? Like,
Yes. So my younger
your own
sister,
world.
my younger sister was very ill when I was growing up. She had a very rare form of epilepsy where she had 50 seizures an hour. So it was absolute hell for our family. And
this, to stop you like really quickly, I'm just like kind of like wow by all the similarities. I lived with my aunt who had epilepsy.
oh my
in our house.
gosh, really?
So like 5 years old, when my aunt would fall out, everyone else would panic,
Right.
and I would just be like, "Give me a wet towel."
Yeah.
Like at a super
Grow
young
up
age.
really fast. Yeah.
So yes, continue. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, and so I just like as a way of, it was really a way of coping with it was just writing stories, and I was obsessed with this old treasury of fairy tales my mom had, because instead of illustrations, all the artwork were like photographs of like these really creepy dolls in like these weird positions, and I just like thought that was just the coolest thing ever.
Right.
And so I started like daydreaming about the adventures that I wanted to have with these fairy tale characters. And then I decided I wanted to write the story myself. And that's how my first series, The Land of Stories, was born. And so I tried writing it when I was 8, and my grandmother was my first editor. I would, every time I'd finish a chapter, which was about 2 pages,
That is so cool.
I'd hop on my big wheel. Well, it wasn't a big wheel, but
Right,
I'd hop on my
yeah.
bike and I would pedal across town to her house, and she would read my stories, and if she liked it, she would keep it in a stack next to her table. But if she didn't like it, she'd crumble it up in front of me, toss it in the trash, and say, "Christopher, you can do better." And so that was like,
Critic.
I know, that was like
Wow.
the tough love that very, I had some tough love very
But
early
then
on.
it probably made you go back and be like, okay, how can I make this better?
Absolutely, and it
Yeah.
did. And I think that's how I developed the muscle at a young age. And to this day, she's still the toughest editor I've ever had to work with.
Wow, she
So-
still goes through it. You go to her first.
When she was alive, I did. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. And but yes, but I mean, I think she was always very honest but encouraging, and I think that's what creative kids need.
Definitely, I think even more so now. It's so needed to have material to like read
That
through.
must be her, my grandmother. Turn the lights on and off.
Actually, the moment it started, I thought
you saw the
that
same thing?
too.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah.
I mean, just to like segue really quickly, does this happen to you a lot with lights and electricity?
With lights, yeah, with lights.
Me
I'd say.
too.
Yeah, lights and I guess like clicks, like just like water bottle clicks.
Mm-hmm.
Just clicks. I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah, but lights and clicks, I think. Yeah.
All the way through my house, like I walk into my bedroom and the lights turn off. And one time it played. I walked into the bedroom, the lights went on, and the Alexa started playing Mr. Sandman.
Oh
And I
gosh.
just grabbed my bag and keys and walked
out.
the
Yeah,
door.
I would have
Like-
done the same.
Like we talked about earlier about tricksters and stuff.
Yeah.
So your grandma was your hardest critic.
She was biggest
share with us
cheerleader
now.
and hardest critic.
Yeah.
Interesting combination.
And so what goes into? I mean, these are heavily detailed, and I've told
If
you
you drop it, it'll hurt your foot. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm getting into it now. And which has been like so fantastical for me.
Oh,
But
good.
I also clearly see messages.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly see different, like I was telling you earlier, like if a woman that was raised as a housewife in the 50s or even, past that, where women were raised to be the home taker and even like Vogue magazine was, it wasn't about really fashions of independency and like all the things that fashion can do for someone to be separate from other people. But it was like, no, how to be a good housewife. Here's how you make a pie, and this is the dress you should wear, making that pie and having a dinner party. And your character Bristol does go through that, and I just found it so fascinating. If we weren't here now, I'd be reading it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
because then I got into it and I was like, oh, that's how times were and how times are in a lot of different parts of the world. And I think that if reading your bio and knowing that it's in all these different countries, like the importance of that, being able to see yourself in something. I had an earlier conversation about how maybe a queer kid or a young Black kid would not see themselves in history books and or as characters in anything. And that I think it really like hinders your development. And I think then that's when imagination has to come into play. You have to imagine yourself in those positions. And I mean, I don't think there's very many transgender women that are in a cis male driven world that is mine, that is the nightclub and restaurant industry. And so, along with as important it is to have these characters, it's as important as for us to be visible and to show those kids that it is possible.
Yeah, right. You think of all the potential that gets squashed because there's no representation to fuel it and to champion it.
Speaking on that, were you told that this wasn't gonna fly?
Oh yeah, many times. Oh, because I started writing the first for real. I started writing the first book. I want to say season 2 or season 3 of Glee, and I had many people tell me, you're wasting your time. The world is not ready for an openly gay man to write books for their kids. Like you need to find something. Host a fashion show. You're wasting your time. And I was like, I don't think you realize like this is even if it fails, this is just something I need to do.
Right.
And luckily all the Glee fans came to that first book. Those first book signings, and
you had to be like, see,
right,
because as much as you don't want to probably care about numbers, when you have something to show concrete, and I'm sure they use this as an example for when they were creating shows after Glee were like, well, see, Glee worked, and that's important to know. Well, see, look at people did show up.
Yeah,
And
right.
and so let's do the next book.
Right,
Kind of
exactly.
thing.
Yeah. So it's like Glee got me that first book deal, and the Glee fans made it a success. And then it turned into its own thing. And like every book that I would come out, or every book that I'd write, the audience, because Glee was for teenagers. I'd say
Yeah.
that was our number one demographic. But with every book that I wrote, you'd see more and more little kids who had no idea what Glee was. They just liked the books.
Oh, you probably have a way separate audience.
Oh, it's
and,
hilarious.
like,
And sometimes they
fan
fight
base.
each other, and they try to take control. No, he's an actor. No, he's he's an author. No, he's an actor.
Yeah.
And like kids will come up to me at book signings and they'll say, "Has anyone ever told you look like that guy from TV?" And I'll say, "Oh, I get that all
they
the
just
time."
think you're the author,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They probably think I'm an old man with a beard. Like I used to think every author was.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a lot of the duality of all that's been a lot of fun.
Merlin.
All right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
I just think of Longbeard.
Yeah.
So now you're getting like you're wildly successful with these books, and and when you did get the pushback, now how is it? Like, are you continuing on?
Well, now I have this weird complex where it's like if I'm pursuing something and someone doesn't tell me I can't do it, then I feel like, well, I can't do this.
Now,
yeah, I'm like, I need someone to tell me
Even-
I can't do this for me to know it's going to work out.
Got it.
Does
got
that
it,
make
got it.
any sense?
Right, yeah, of course.
And then like I think even like as a young kid, like it always gave me like this extra boost in my drive to get it done. People say you can't write a book. Oh, I can write a book. Well, it's not going to be successful. It can be successful.
Yeah.
So
You're
now
finding like if it's too easily done, maybe you've done something wrong
right,
in the idea.
exactly. Yeah,
of
like
it.
I'm not trying hard enough,
Right.
or it's a weird mental game I play with myself.
Yeah. So, honestly, I can't get enough of the book and all the positive messages that go along with it. My book is completely outlined with so many things because and one was how it goes. Let me see. I highlighted a bunch of stuff.
That's so sweet of you.
This was so like I'm at home and I'm like this. Magic is not a choice. And then this following was ignorance is a choice. Hatred is a choice. Violence is a choice. Someone existing is never a choice, and that really spoke so much to me because I never could understand why someone hated why someone did something else. Like, why do you care if I marry a man? Why do you care the way I dress?
Right.
Shouldn't you just be happy that I'm happy?
Yeah.
But
what I call myself, get out of my business.
Get out of my business. And one, I can't help it. Like nothing that should be helped anyways. But the fact that you're getting angry for my existence and what she says is like the choices that you make is violence. The choice is ignorance. And just like going back to how I handled my situation with the kid in high school, that was my choice. I could have gone about it any other way, but I did choose that, and the hurt after that, and which is something that I've learned from, and hopefully by telling this story that other people can learn from. If you had chosen a negative reaction, change it.
Right. Yeah, it's never too late to right or wrong.
No, and I don't think so. And I think and the more good you do is the better. And along those lines, how important is advocacy? And I guess it goes along with visibility, which I think you do so well. And you share yourself so much, and it is important. How, along those lines, how important it is to get involved with charities even the Trevor Project, suicide hotlines, bullying, and all the things,
Yeah. When I first wrote, because the Land Stories was my first series, and when I wrote that series, I just wanted to give kids like an adventure, like something to take their mind off their troubles, and maybe sprinkle a little moral here, a moral there, but nothing like I don't want to be too preachy.
It wasn't like you had. Now I'm imagining one of those FBI boards
No,
and you're
no,
connecting.
with the red string. No,
Yeah.
no, I didn't have that quite. But when I started writing, because this is
Lesson.
this is like A Tale of Magic series
Right.
is the prequel series
Right.
to Land Stories, even though they're very separate. So you can start right where you're reading and be
Right.
just fine. When I started that was right after the 2016 election happened,
Right.
and just all the hate that we saw, all the ignorance that we saw. I knew I couldn't just write fluff anymore. Like I realized I had such a unique opportunity to plant some seeds of compassion in a younger generation. So the first book in the Tale of Magic series, A Tale of Magic, everything in that book is a metaphor for being gay, basically.
Yeah.
You know, like having to hide the magic within you. You know, the people trying to oppress you. I mean, like I could go on.
Well, no, I love when the fairies come out and reveal their looks.
Their looks,
but
yeah,
it's their
yeah.
being,
and
you
they
know.
serve some looks.
Yeah,
Like, there are a lot of looks
I
in the
was
book.
living.
Yeah.
I was like just imagining it, and
Yeah.
but that was that, you know, where you're trying to suppress, you know, someone so beautiful and so magical and so everything, and then like also can't help it,
Yeah.
but be themselves.
Right.
And so when they do the unveiling,
Yeah.
I thought that was really special, and I got a really big kick out of it.
Yeah.
And
And
it,
and even like magic is like I said, it's all an allegory
For sure.
for being gay. But that's what it is for me. But like a little girl will read that and see magic as her own thing. Like it's been amazing to watch the readers project their own selves into the story, and you know, magic just represents that special quality of them that's being oppressed wherever they're living.
I kind of always think as queer, I think queer kids in my head. So along the stories with you adding magic to it, I think that we're all like X-Men.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like, you know, and it is that, you know, when you watch X-Men and they're saying like, don't be yourself, and there's people
Have you ever
picketing.
tried not being a mutant?
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like, oh, I can't with these wings that are popping
Yeah,
out of my
right,
side,
yeah.
like, you know, kind of thing, you know, and yeah, and for a lot of people, it's not. It's there. You're not ever gonna need to hide, or you can't hide.
Right.
I can't hide who I am.
Yeah. I also like
I don't want to.
No, right. No, and we shouldn't have to.
No.
No one should. You know, unless you like, you know, unless you're just like a complete asshole, then you should hide that. You know,
Right.
you should
Yeah,
you should you know,
definitely.
calm that part of you
Yeah.
down. But I also love that these books are in places where it's illegal to be gay. I love that I have queer characters in places. I mean, I it's a long list of countries, but you know, like Egypt and Russia,
Yeah.
where you know where we
Dubai.
are real in Dubai, and like where we are really we are literally hunted down
Yeah.
by, you know, on apps and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because
Queer baiting.
right, literally,
Yeah,
right,
that's it.
right. And there's like there are territories where if you use the word gay or trans or whatever, your book gets banned instantly. So you got to get get strategic about how you tell a story like that
Right.
without using the terms that were, you know, used.
It's like
to.
almost hiding secret messages.
It totally is.
Or
Yeah,
sending them or
Absolutely.
receiving one.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. Well, that's the beauty about books. You know, I was just reminded about how obsessed I was with going to the West Hollywood Library.
Mm.
And so thirsty for anything LGBTQ.
Mm-hmm.
A+ now.
Mm.
But I would only go to that section
Mm-hmm.
and only get books from that section and only get movies from that section. And, you know, I mean, to have something like this, because everything else was very kind of old school written, or maybe
Or
like
swept under the rug, or
or not even presented in the best light. Maybe it was like a terror story of their upbringing and all of the terrible things that could happen to you from becoming, you know, being out. I think there was something in your book where she gives a name and she realizes that she can't give a real name because her father might, who's the justice, might find out. And she gives, and the moment she gives like a ghostwriter name or you know, something, which is not that, but she gives a false name. I think of the writer who wrote Raisin Under the Sun, Raisin in the Sun. Sorry. And she was she wrote for a lesbian magazine, but she wrote under a pseudonym, and she did actually write a lot of queer books that she had to write under a different name to keep it separate. I mean, because then it was really like life or death, you know, like you had to hide and all the things, which is
Yeah, or get imprisoned, or I mean, yeah,
yeah.
not a fun life.
Yeah, and speaking of getting, kids to those areas where, it's not as accepted, I remember last month I saw the most beautiful creatures. I'm
Mm.
at Delilah's and beautifully dressed, almost angel like. The,
Mm.
the fashion was like it looked like a cloud, but it was fabric over this like tuxedo jacket, but like wrapped around down here, and however the wiring was, it looked like clouds.
Wings, yeah,
Yeah. And I went up and I was like, "Who are you? Wow, you're amazing!" And he was with his friend from Dubai, and I immediately swept them off to the club, as
Oh,
one fairy godmother does.
right.
And after a week of hanging out with him, I mean, they would show up like in the most fantastical outfits. I mean, you've been around me a lot, and I love to dress up and all the things. But
You're
this
very
was
good at it.
this was the next level, I'll tell you. Like something that very much inspired me. But at the end of that, when they were leaving, they, with all of their heart and just such gratitude, was like, it was their first day they got here. They didn't know what to expect. They heard that Delilah's was somewhere to be, so they just posted up at the bar, and I was the first person they run into. And then I took them with me the rest of the week, and they were such a joy and so grateful for everything. And they said, "Thank you for letting us be ourselves. We don't get this."
Oh,
and
so heartbreaking.
And I understand the want to do it when you get to a new place where you can, but then they could have, been met with, what are you guys doing? Or, you're too dressed up or something. But I'm so grateful, one, because I'm grateful to know them, but that they fell into my lap, and always to be able to like nurture that kind of creativity and that kind of like, being yourself. I'm going to champion it, from anyone I may see standing in line to being at the club. I want people to feel welcome, and especially in a kind of, nightclubs are scary.
Yeah.
Like in a sense where like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I think that's why it's important for me to be here and to be visible. And, I've gotten the stories where like, I never sure if I was welcomed in this club or that club, and then one day I was walking by and I saw your table, and it was, then it kept me coming back, and I think that's important. And like your books, when someone sees someone like themselves, it will keep them coming back. And I'm sure, I don't know if that's a big weight for you to bear, because they're probably going to always want another story.
Another story, yeah. I mean, I have gotten a few death threats written in crayon. That's always interesting.
Well, it goes to show you that hate starts really, really young.
I got a letter from a little girl in Illinois. I believe her name was Susie. It was like a handwritten crown letter that said, "You better write a new book or else." And I still don't know what she meant by "or else," but
a young misery.
A young misery, exactly.
Wow.
Oh my god, I never compared it to misery. It's hilarious.
Maybe it was just that.
Yeah.
Just a super fan, just like or else. Yeah.
Jeez, but I've gotten into it's. I feel pretentious talking about it, because I also know how fortunate I am to have that kind of responsibility. But I mean, that kind of stuff started when I was on Glee, so I've kind of gotten a little not used to it, but familiar with it.
Yeah, I think you probably are. I don't know, but maybe more grounded, because if it just started, out of nowhere and all the things, and you're just putting your writing out there, but you did have time to build up your armor,
right?
Against
Exactly.
that, and none of it has anything to do with you.
Right.
It's all their world, and
but also it makes you feel so like you feel, on one hand, you feel so grateful that you have been given a life of opportunities where you can mean something to someone and you can make their life better. But on the other hand, it's like you just have this urge to do more, and at a certain point I had to like tell myself, like, you're not a superhero. You can't put on a cape and fly over to Egypt and save these people as much as you want to.
Because you're not gonna you can't help anyone if you've exhausted yourself.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
if you don't take care of yourself.
And I did start saving for an X-Jet, so I could, travel to these places. But
Let's go.
I mean, I should start a GoFundMe for my ex-jet so I can go save these queer kids.
And our costumes.
And our costumes. Oh my God,
Yeah.
we're gonna look so great.
Oh, we're marching
You can
in.
design the costumes.
Yeah.
You'll be great at that.
I'll do that. So what is next? I mean, is it making this into a movie?
Yes, we're in the process of that right now.
Really?
Yes, we were in development with 20th Century Fox for a long time, and it was going fantastic. And then the Disney merger hit, and then the pandemic hit, and then literally it all hit. Like it all hit.
Yeah.
And then we the people that we were working with got different jobs elsewhere. So I made the tough decision of taking the rights back and starting fresh because I thought that would be best for the project. So we're kind of there right now, but I'm not in a rush because I was in a rush before and I made some mistakes with it.
Yeah.
Now I'm like I'm not in a rush and because I guess like when the books first came out, I was so worried that it was going to be kind of like a TV show because I grew up on a TV show.
Right.
Whereas like I had such a small amount of time to get it made because it was going to disappear before I knew it.
Right.
And I've been very fortunate that these books have not disappeared. Like they've just gotten more and more and more popular as time goes on. So the more popular they get, the more control I have over the product.
And that's what I was saying, how important, as much as like I said, you're not supposed to care in a sense, I guess, for your insanity about numbers and things like that. Mm-hmm. But in this case, in a queer person like yourself getting ahead, these numbers are important.
They're very important. Yeah, and they're very they're very rare too.
Yeah.
It's really maddening how rare it is for a queer person to have a popular series like mine or just popular books in general.
Oh, I don't even know. Does it exist?
I know like Gregory Maguire who wrote Wicked. I know a lot of like.
It's super rare.
It's
because
rare,
even like I said, at the West Hollywood Library, it's West Hollywood Library, the LGBTQI plus section was very, very small.
Yeah, right.
Like just one section.
Yeah.
And also still at the time, I remember being guarded walking down that aisle, because it was still ingrained in me that it's bad.
Right. Yeah. You want to especially in West, it's hilarious. Like even in West Hollywood, like you have that, you know, that fear of being seen in the LGBTQ section of the library,
And this also, you do touch base on, girls not being able to read and the character having to sneak books in and the urgency of that. And she's risking her life actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is something that I understand reading it, because growing up when I was little, was, like I said, a super Christian household, and everything was like, you're going to hell. I would hide clothes, dresses, high heels underneath the sink. And when given a safe time, I would then unpack all that and put it where it needs to go. Sometimes there would be people in the hallway, so I had to leave it and hope that no one needed anything under the sink. But it's so funny because I did start that at a super young age, and the fact that I could have been probably really hurt, actually. Like it was abusive, and that didn't matter to me. This was life or death for me to be myself.
Yeah, and it was your escape
and
too.
And the stakes are that high for her. And so that did really, really speak to me. And I think the stakes are even higher now with all the things going on politically against us. And I don't think a lot of our community realizes that there is a real war going on.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can get lost. Obviously, sure, it's fine that we get lost and have fun in our own universe. But I think it's equally as important to check in and to see what's going on, because that's what, these lawmakers are hoping, that are trying to get these kind of laws.
Right.
These anti-gay laws and don't say the word gay kind of things slip through, because they're hoping that no one notices them.
Right.
And people are just like, oh, yep, checking all the boxes.
We're all the club, not reading the newspaper.
Bring them another bottle.
Yeah, but it's also like, I feel like it's also we owe it to the people who fought for us to continue the fight.
And that fight was wild,
insane.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful we didn't have to experience, but thank God they did what they did when they did it.
Totally. I'm really kind of touched, and I think I speak to her a lot outwardly in my life, was Sylvia Rivera, who was best friends with Marsha P. Johnson. Same, you know, they're like the same person for me, and they were very much that. They were, you know, we all have that friend that we're like the same person, and they were that. But like just the having the strength to go out every day, like people do tell me that I'm brave, and I'll tell you that I don't feel it.
Oh, I think
A
you're
lot of the
very,
time.
very brave.
Because I'll tell you, I do things safely. And sure, you know,
Well, you can protect yourself but still be brave.
sure. Yeah, I'm not going to go walk into a bar in Alabama and like try to cause trouble.
Right.
You know, and
Although if you ever do, please call me, because
Yeah,
that sounds like good fun.
I want to see it. No, but it is, I do stay within my, you know, but it does happen. You know, I was, you know, at Delilah's and got called a faggot in the bathroom at my own place, you know, so, you know, it does happen. But where I do draw strength is from knowing that they did it every day, walking out, you know, any door and could be arrested immediately.
Yeah.
Beat up. Nobody cared. Try to make a complaint. Try to make a complaint about a murder. You're a queer person during that time. And maybe even now.
You'd be laughed at. You'd be laughed at.
And
yeah.
it's not, you know, it's not going anywhere. And so that.
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
Still, yeah.
And, you know, even with what sex working had to become kind of, I'm not going to say ours, but like our way to survive. And maybe like
because no one else was employing
no one.
Anyone, you know.
And the way you wanted to be yourself, you know, and to be able to represent who you are and dress how you are. I often pull from that. And so I think everything you're doing is just really so amazing. And I'm so like excited to really see where these characters are. I mean, you obviously know, but for me, it's new. And I think it's so important to get the word out there that these books exist, and let's get them made into movies.
Yeah, we're working on it.
And
yeah,
on and
thank
on,
you.
because I mean, like I said, it's so important for visibility, for all things queer, all marginalized communities. You know, let's lift each other up. You know, and I think it's important. Like you said, social media can be great as well. I often try to, if I see a friend that got a magazine cover and all the things, I always take myself back to the place when I first moved here. Like, if you had a friend that had a magazine cover, like, I'm posting that.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'm so proud
Yeah.
of you. Like, and I'm so proud of all the things you've done, because I get it. Like, it's fucking hard. You know, it's like my first agency to get an agent was here in my building now. And I remember this.
Wow,
I remember this building being so intimidating to someone from where we're from.
Of course.
This is a real official building.
Yeah.
You know, it's an office building. We don't have very many.
There's a
of those.
doorman. We didn't have any of those growing up.
Exactly. I got to check in, and I remember, and it was the alternative agency. Because I had long hair. That was my the extent.
That was
of,
the alternative.
Yeah. And so, and I got picked up with them, but I remember this being intimidating, the lobby. And so the full circle of me now having like the penthouse office here and me coming in, and that not even being, I don't have that
Any
feeling
fear whatsoever.
but I remember it every day, and I'm so grateful to be in this position, and you know, to be here with you now talking about these issues that we couldn't talk about before.
Right.
You know, and I don't know, I'm just such in a grateful space, and I'm just all about, really, like you said, let's fly over.
Yeah.
Let's get some more stuff done. No, but all within like a healthy, good reasoning for ourselves and keep us sane.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's touch base a little bit about, and I think we did. I told you that, you know, for myself, being a queer kid, you know, but not knowing it at the time because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what these feelings were. I knew that I was different. And so like who did we have to look up to? It would be the glamour girls. You know. And so what is the importance now, and how how much we need like queer characters, like how yours started, and that being the example to lead to other characters. But also how important it is for queer people to play queer characters.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, I think it's we're lucky, but we're living in an era where there is a lot of representation. I would say let's make sure we have many different kinds of representation.
Right.
You know, let's make sure that we show many different gay stories, many different types of gay characters, many different types of trans
Yeah.
characters. Because it seems like 90%, and that's one of the reasons why I don't really act as much as I do.
Because it goes only one way.
It goes one way, and it's like it's. You know, I've always been more of a Comic-Con and horror movie gay than a Met Gala gay.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many times I still walk into places now, and because I played a Met Gala gay on TV, people automatically assume that I'm gonna be, come in and be this fabulous, this materialistic, know every label,
Yeah.
and I disappoint a lot of people. So I would like for there to be more representation. So I stop disappointing people when I
Right.
come in and want to talk about Disneyland.
No. I mean, just like with any other group of people, you could never tell enough stories of the human experience.
Right.
And we do have those human experiences just like everyone else. And it could be funny and it could be like,
Right.
danger. But no, we get a lot of danger. We don't
Yeah,
need any
I
more
know.
danger.
And that's another thing is I think it's so important to tell those stories about coming out and the horror stories. It's important to bring those stories to the public zeitgeist, but it's also so important to tell stories about us having fun and living our lives, and maybe people watch us experiencing more joy, the more we'll get them behind us.
Right. No, definitely. And that's why I think like I don't see very many transgender roles. I think it's kind of like I think it comes to a point where you just kind of have to write your own stuff, unfortunately, because
Right.
no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
And when
Keep hitting the pavement.
and keep hitting
And
the
just
pavement. Because when you do read these things, you already know where it's going to go, and it's like, come on,
Right.
it's so cliche.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say that in that
Right.
instance, but you
Right.
think they will because you're thinking from a gay person's perspective,
Right.
which goes along with the lines of one. I do think that actors should be allowed to. I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe I'm split 50-50 because I think there's so many queer talented people that could fill those queer roles.
Right.
And there's a plethora, nonstop, endless amount of straight characters for people to play and audition for. And I think some should be left, for queer characters. And I think there definitely should be more queer writers. Because
Yes, that is
I think
essential.
that's essential because the way a person writes and speaks
Right.
about how they think a queer person's going to respond.
They write us. I've found like straight writers tend to write us more like toucans than human beings. I mean, like anytime I read a script and like the first word out of someone's mouth is girlfriend, I'm like, okay, nope, not for me.
No.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna keep going with this.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah, it always often is like one note. And, I guess that's the assignment is to then create characters. Because, it's so great. I recently started taking acting classes again, and I was scared of it, and that's the reason why I said yes to doing it. A friend of mine was teaching it. She's like, you should come in. And I was like, oh, God, that sounds terrifying.
That does sound terrifying. I'm glad you're doing it though.
But because of what we all just went through in the pandemic, I decided to say yes to things that terrify me. And I'm just going to show up and see what happens. And she does give me fun things to play. Like I played Thelma and Louise.
Oh,
and,
fun. Yeah.
And it's really kind of great to create in that kind of space.
It's funny. The minute you said acting class, I instantly tensed up because in my experience, I've actually never really been in an acting class. I
was gonna wonder about
yeah,
that.
no, I only just I did drama when I was a kid, but like to me, acting class is like it's trying to prove to a teacher you can play a straight character. So hearing that you get to play Thelma, like that just made my heart so happy.
Yeah, and she's not about she's actually amazing. Her name's April Matson, and I'm obsessed with watching her speak because she's not about getting to a certain point necessarily, but really actually having you believe that you're this person in this imaginary circumstance. But also, you know, she'll explain like you've got to really love this to put yourself out there, and we have a class of 4 people.
Yeah.
You know, and she loves it as long as you really love to be there. And as I've been taking it for 6 months, every Wednesday for 4 hours. It's a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big commitment.
Yeah, and it's in most days it's, you know, where a day where I'm coming from the office and maybe had 3 events the night before where I don't want to be vulnerable in front of people, but I think that right now in this moment, I think the other kids, I say kids, they're much younger than me. Kids in this acting class, I think it's great for them to have someone like me there. So I feel a sense of importance, just if it even goes just to the class, you know. And I love how immediately, with no issue behind it, did she start giving me female characters to play, like, and the way she explains it, and I feel seen, you know, and I feel like, oh, I can do this. But, you know, sometimes she's like, we got to write you something. And I get what she's saying, because there's not going to be something really.
Right.
I couldn't show up today to audition for Thelma and Louise. You know, in a sense, it's not there. Maybe. I don't know. No, it's not going to happen.
But you could create, I don't know, we can call them Candace and Denise, you know, create your own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then hopefully it will come to a point where characters are created in such a way and done in such a way that maybe you know, but maybe you don't know, because it's not, I'm not outwardly saying that I'm a transgender woman, other than I'm a human having an experience in this given circumstance.
Right.
You know, and I don't have to tell you that. I don't have to explain anything about what I've had done down there, or any of all the things and questions that people have all the time. They want to know every personal thing about you. And, oh, have you started your pills? And does that matter other than what I just told you?
And by the way, nice to meet you too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, it's mostly strangers.
Yeah.
Or like I'll hear groups of people that I know being like, oh, they're all wondering if you're going to get the surgeon. Well, who's all wondering?
You know,
it's none of their business.
Have you ever been that interested in a stranger?
No.
Am I a complete narcissist?
No.
I have never once been that interested in someone. I had no idea.
That's what I mean. It's like, do you care about? I don't care about what they got in between their legs.
I
whatsoever.
really don't want to. I really like. I really don't. You know, I mean.
Yeah, and don't share.
And don't share. Please don't share. But like, it's just it's remarkable that just how stupid people can be.
Yeah. No. I mean, it happens. But I mean, that's where I hope we can get, because I think that, you know, through storytelling and through this type of medium, like, I mean, you see how many people you reach. Think of that like on a much global scale with the push, you know, with all these studios can actually give, and all the children you can reach. I mean, I guess it does harm for the people that are trying to like keep us small. Is the only harm it's going to do for them. Yeah. But for everyone else to like spread joy and to let people see themselves in these stories, on these screens, in these books. I mean, I only think it's for the good. I mean, obviously.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I do think it matters if people are actually queer when they play queer characters.
Yeah.
Like as a reference, like there is a huge difference between, you know, and I adore Felicity Huffman, but you know, the movie Transamerica, there's a huge difference between Transamerica and one of my favorite movies, Tangerine.
I love Tangerine.
I think it's an absolute masterpiece, but just the energy of people who have authentically lived,
right?
You know, that I think that is.
And yes, I get what you're saying. Obviously, Felicity Huffman is an amazing actress,
right?
Given the time, if she was the only absolute person to play this role, then for sure.
Sure.
But yeah, the feeling I get when I watch Tangerine, I am like in it. Because these girls are really, you know, they've lived these experiences. This is daily life for them.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to people more when there's more honesty, as much as can be. So yes, having a queer character play the queer role, I think, is important. And I know that when Michaela first asked me about this, she's like, how do you feel about that? And honestly, I didn't actually know, because I was kind of coming from like, if you really have the talent and you really put the work in, obviously should have a chance.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about in this world, in our climate, and all the things that we have to endure to get to places. No, those spaces should be reserved.
Yeah.
It's a small
It's
space.
I'm so conflicted about it because some of my favorite performances have been straight people playing queer characters.
Sure. And in that moment, I don't
they
know
were the best person for the
right. Or like at least we got some representation in that,
Yeah.
you know.
And it should always go to the best person for the role, but I think unfortunately there's so many filmmakers these days who can't fathom an actual queer person being the best person for a role that we have to at least even the playing field a little bit and try and like with all just like the you know the homophobia and the self-hate that out actors have to deal with on a daily basis regardless of how successful they are. I think the least that we should be allowed is to tell our own stories.
Yeah. Well, you know, that goes on the other side of, I know that when certain actors were outed or when you say like, well, why can't that person just be out? It's still not that easy because sometimes it's just unfortunately hard for a casting director once they know a little bit about you, which is why people like to be private. They assume they know everything about you and that you can't play this role because I know this much about you.
Right.
You know, instead of having come in with a blank slate or just the fact that you've been successful on all these other jobs, so you should be considered for the job. But now because personal life plays a part, they just assume.
But it's interesting, like, who that rule applies to and who it doesn't. Like I mean, we could name a million people that have like got in trouble with the law that we've seen, you know, in courtrooms.
Done the worst.
That have done the worst shit ever, and they just keep getting
held
a pass.
People captive.
Literally, right.
And then another role.
And then they just signed the, you know, and like and also the people that tend to just kind of fail upwards. I mean it's
unfortunately it still is a double standard in that way. Is that right?
Yeah, totally.
Like, yeah, you know, because I think, you know, I'm sure you feel this way, but you have to outwardly give a certain kind of person, you know, to all your social media and all the things, because I think people are waiting for us to mess up. They want us to be the tragedy story that they read about or they see that has been represented.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd be like, makes sense.
Right.
When, you know, there's so many of us out there that don't take that path and live other lives, like completely other lives, farming even, you know, like we're out there in every
trust me,
aspect.
I've been tempted sometimes just to open up a boutique somewhere in a small town and just put it all to rest.
I mean, if it gets to that point and you ever feel that way, just be like, we're packing up the truck and we're heading out with our cow, Missy.
The U-Haul is loaded.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming here and allowing us to, you know, have space with you and share your space with us. And I hope we can do this again someday. Like I said, I really want to get into the books.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, you know where to find me. And I absolutely just adore you. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, and I could just prank call you and hang up. I think you'll still know it's me, but you know.
I think you have, or I think you've had done that once before.
The heavy breathing on the phone. So I did have some written out for you, but as I was leaving my office today, I saw it's called The Queer Agenda.
Ooh, fun.
So they're just almost like my Mad Libs, so I'll just like read them out and then you fill in the blank.
Cool.
Netflix and
pills.
Yay! Could be fun, like whatever type of movie you're doing.
It all works, yeah.
You can make it a choose your own adventure, which also make you fall asleep. I don't know. At work, I'm infamous for blank.
Snacking.
Yeah. Craft service.
Oh my God. Best people in the world.
And someone when they're really good, it's just, you want to live there.
Yeah.
Social distancing means.
I mean,
the many ways of social distancing.
It's just like personal space, common sense, I think. I think even if there's no pandemic tomorrow, we should keep social distancing because I like having people keep their distance.
I love it.
Me too. Do you watch South Park?
I used to.
There's an episode where Cartman has a yardstick and he keeps people like a 6-foot yardstick.
Give me that.
And I thought that was the funniest thing ever. And I would like one of those.
Well, you know, actually, shortly after we started getting like more lenient on rules and clubs and stuff like that, the fact that people would still try to kiss me on the cheek, I couldn't believe it. I would come home and be like, I don't want to go out ever.
Yeah.
Like I just took off my mask and sat down, and you decided to walk over from another table, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's
again
personal space. It doesn't have to be 6 feet, but just respect personal space.
Come on, don't try to make out with me
unless I ask.
Yeah. Next one, my guilty pleasure is
the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Really?
Yeah, but actually, it's really not that guilty. It's just a pleasure.
People do it.
Yeah.
No, actually, one of my best friends has it on all the time, and I'll walk into the room, and then I'll sit down, and then 3 episodes happen, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta go.
Yeah, it sucks you in.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, it's a good season, too, this season.
It's very good. My friend Diana Jenkins is on it.
Of course, yeah. I'm friends with Diana, too.
Yeah,
yes,
that's right.
Yeah,
I think we've seen each other with her.
I think she's fantastic on the show so far.
And if you would have told me, if you would have lined up 10 people, like, most qualified for whatever this would be, never her.
No, you're right.
I didn't think she would ever do this because she is quite a private person.
Right.
But I think she's really giving it.
Yeah, and she just I think is kind of phenomenal. Like just her story about how she got to where she is, and I love that she's sharing it with the world.
I'm living for every moment, and she's such a powerful person. And I know her. We know her as being that person, and also just actually fun, the most fun person in the world. But to see her really take stances in a place that is not her. I don't know.
Her comfort zone.
Her comfort zone, and these women in their own right are all very powerful. So like, she's really holding her own.
Yeah,
and
she is.
I'm really into this season. Actually,
it's great.
Let's watch together.
Let's do it.
Okay, the next one.
Next one, Wednesday.
Yeah,
I'll come to your house
for sure. Oh yeah, Chris, where can people find you? I mean, I know where to find you, but where can anyone else find you?
You can find me in the back of Bootsy Bellows on any given weeknight. And
Tuesdays and Fridays.
Tuesdays and Fridays. You can find me on Instagram at Chris Colfer, Twitter at Chris Colfer. I think Facebook at Chris Colfer. I'm not sure about that one. And what am I up to these days? I'm about to write a brand new series. It's my first. I can't reveal the title yet, but it's my first ever sci-fi series.
Well, that's exciting
for middle grade readers.
That's me.
Me too. I write my reading level, so
I mean, I just love it.
Yeah, I just did a concert for PBS, which is streaming now for Pride.
Oh wow! Okay, great.
So yeah,
can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marsha out. Chris out.
This podcast is brought to you by Vocal Podcast Network. Executive producers are Michaela Simon and Marsha Molinari. Produced by Yonta Taiwo and Morgan McDonald. Shooting and editing by Morgan McDonald. Music by Aaron Reese. Artwork by Dominic Demetz and hosted by Marsha Molinari. Remember to follow at Marsha Molinari and at Vocal Podcasts everywhere. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast.